when it comes to looking for work, if you think the job offering sounds just a tiny bit absolutely way too good to be true, then that's because it probably is. Raging Grace was written and directed by Paris Arkilla in his feature film debut, also written by Pancakes Arkilla. Personally, I prefer waffles and French toast over pancakes, but nevertheless, Max Eigenmann plays Joy, who's an undocumented Filipina immigrant living in the UK and is taking any job that she can get to make sure that she scrapes together enough money to get her visa so that she doesn't have to go back to the Philippines along with her daughter Grace. And Grace, let's just say, is a little bit of a terror, even though she means well. And I will say that the young girl that plays Grace actually does a pretty good job capturing the spirit of a child. I mean, she does mean well. She loves her mother, but there are some unanswered questions in her life, and she plays tricks on her and all this stuff and whatever, and she's just an adventurous and also defiant child. Joy, bound and determined to make the best life possible for her, and her daughter is very, very worried. They have lodgings, and she has work, but the work isn't paying enough, because one theme about this movie is anybody that comes from another country and has to earn their way has to do the lowly work that, we don't want to do because we're better. That is a theme that gets worked over in this whole movie, and actually is a good theme to touch upon in any kind of gothic horror type movie like this. It's more, eerie and everything, but that is something that hangs over this. Yeah, you gotta do good. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. And do everything possible, or otherwise you're gonna be shipped back to where you came from. I will say that is one thing that Paris Arkilla did a very good job capturing. And that Max Eigenmann does a great job capturing the fear, like realizing this could go tits up at any point, as they say across the pond. And Joy gets the opportunity of a lifetime. There is a woman named Catherine, played by Leanne Best, who needs help watching her uncle, Nigel Garrett, who's also called Mr. Garrett. He's played by David Heyman. And he's bedridden. He's sick. He could go at any point, but Catherine can't always be there to take care of him. Being his niece. She has her own stuff to do. She has business to take care of, so she brings Joy in, offers her a lot of money, not just to work for the agency, but to work for her specifically. Basically, you get this cash, and it's more money than you could ever possibly earn, and it sounds a bit too good to be true. And again, when job offers like that come along, there's always a catch, and boy are there catches as things go on. Joy discovers more secrets, and then things go absolutely tits up a little bit later on. And also Grace is at the house but has to hide because for some reason Joy's not allowed to have her child there. So yeah, from there we get a film that's about, layers being peeled back. And I will say, as far as a first feature, Paris does show that he has a lot of capabilities as a filmmaker. And I mean, really, there are some great shots, great camera work. My main complaint was the jump scare noises. I really didn't like the jump scare noises. I thought that those were pretty cheap. Good music, good haunting music, and some good performances. I do think it falls apart in the third act, though, and I'll talk about why in the spoilers. But as far as setup and everything, it was fine. This is a good effort and well worth watching. I paid about $8 on Amazon, after taxes to give this a shot, and I'm glad I did, because it does show what a mother will do for her child, and also how a child can be defiant and easily manipulated. And there are, of course, no, black and white, but there's shades of gray in how people have certain motivations for why they do things. And some are just innocent people caught in the web of deceit and craziness and everything. I do think that it'd be easy to predict where this is going from about the first 20 or 30 minutes, but there are good performances and also some good, some chapter breaks with some nice, old school gothic type writing. So yeah, not a perfect movie, has its issues, especially when it gets to the third act. Even though there are some good moments, it gets a little bit too busy, but a good story overall. So I'm going to get into spoilers just so you know. But yeah, Max does a great job as the lead lady, and the girl that plays Grace is good. It really is just focused on those four characters that I mentioned, though. There are other people in the periphery, but not many. So anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, Grace, being a daughter, a little mischievous. We see a few examples of her tricks. And then the jarring music, it took me a bit of getting used to, but I did eventually get used to it. There's stuff like the tale of common things. That's one of the chapter breaks. Joy goes to the house. Catherine explains a routine. Joy's very good. Her job cleaning this stuff up. And Joy is haunted by past trauma. Basically, the father of Grace was very abusive. That ties into something a little bit later on. So, his job offer leads us to take up the white man's burden. Scrubbing toilets, all that stuff, serving him his medicine, cleaning up his shit, because he's bedridden. She goes to take care of Mr. Garrett, who is basically unresponsive. Catherine's feeding him his medicine. This money offer is made. And I did note that Grace is annoying as fuck, and I don't mean the actress. She played her role well. I just mean as far as a character. And there are some attempts at comedy I don't think that work all that well. But Grace keeps messing around and everything. She was snuck in, by the way, by Joy in a suitcase. That was dangerous. And then it becomes obvious that even though Catherine believes that Joy is going to be good for her, she also sees her as lower class. The racism does come out. And it's not classism, it's fucking flat out racism. There are examples of, oh, you people should be grateful we give you these opportunities. When I don't care what country you come from, you're a human. You're a human being. You deserve to be treated as a human, not somebody lowly. We're all working hard. We can all get to a lower job, get to an upper job, or whatever. We're all in this together. Let's judge people by the content of their character, not by what their race is. So Catherine is going to leave and says he needs his medicine and regiments. So basically, through a little bit of secret, like delving, Joy finds out that, oh shit, she's basically giving him these pills, a pill that Grace discovered earlier when she discovered one of these sleeping pills in like this medicine cabinet from the other place that they worked at, or that Joy worked at. And also, Joy is throwing up unexpectedly. Gee, I wonder why. Can't imagine. Maybe it just could be nerves. Maybe she was knocked up by somebody. I wonder. And also the fact that Grace is speaking, basically, I mean, she does speak some, Filipino, whatever the language actually is. Pretty certain I probably screwed that up. Basically, Grace has, a proper English accent because she was born there. Gee, wonder, So, she doesn't even remember the Philippines because obviously being, a young girl and everything, this is her home, even though, where her ancestry is way far away. So, they decide to concoct, Joy and Grace decide to concoct a bunch of techniques and everything and concoctions to get the sick out of Mr. Garrett. And, and bid the sickness cease. There's other stuff. It turns out that as Garrett is coming to, he was constantly saying, Gloria, Gloria. Oh no, the poor guy thinks he's Laura Branigan. Wait, she's dead. Gloria. I think she is. And he's dealing with all this. He's dealing with all this stuff. He's like all confused. Joy explains, your niece asked me to take care of you. He says, I don't have a niece. Oh no, it's somebody that was just poisoning him to take his money and everything. Maybe it was a woman that married him to take his money. So he had a Filipino nanny that he really liked, and Joy reminds him of her, so he's going to help. But yeah, it seems like everything's good. He's a nice, kindly old man, and then I don't want to be called Mr., I want to be called Master. And more stuff gets revealed. It turns out, by the way, that Catherine was pilling him up, but that's only because Garrett was evil. And I'm not saying Catherine was perfect, but it turns out that Nigel was kind of a full-on sick bastard. It turns out there were these letters hidden away from this nanny, Gloria, that Grace actually saw in a box while Catherine was out, was sleepwalking around and everything. And Catherine's like, I'll burn this whole place down, and sees this old lady, but she doesn't put it together. And then she's trying to tell her mother, and her mother's just not picking up on this stuff because her mother's kind of blinded by the fact this is a great opportunity and everything because, what else are they going to go back to? And, yeah, things just get a little bit more fucked up. Catherine gets back and is surprised that her uncle is back and up. And, oh my God, what's going on here? Who's really evil? It turns out they both kind of are, but especially Nigel. And, yeah, this is kind of where it starts to fall apart a little bit, because it's hard to root for any characters. I mean, even Joy's sort of idiotic, and I know the kids are easily manipulated, but this is where it gets a little bit silly. The reason that Catherine was away, she had Nigel declared incompetent so she could take over the estate. He's like, oh, that's fake, and he apparently is actually sick. He actually does have cancer. But, hey, I gotta thank you. Your mother's fortune basically helped save us. What do you mean? Well, you had her committed. You told me she was sick. You signed this. I told you to read carefully. I was 11. And both Catherine and Nigel are not good people. Like, yeah, you could argue that Nigel preyed upon Catherine, but Catherine also was doing a lot of this, stuff anyway, and treating Joy like dirt because she got really, really racist and everything. Gloria's body's in the house. That factors in a little bit. We get a little bit more gothic style imagery, which I will say that the shots at night were pretty good in the house. And Grace won't leave. They basically, Joy decides we're going to leave. We're going to take some money. We're going to leave. And then actually she throws the money down and says, you know what? We don't need your help. You need ours. Then the police show up. Immigration. So they take Joy away. What the hell? Catherine called them? There was actually one funny scene just before this that probably caused Catherine to totally snap, where they played a trick on her and put stuff in her shampoo and caused her hair to fall out and her skin to act up because they thought she was the evil one. And it turned out Garrett was. And then the final little bit, since Grace is the only one there, Grace comes up with a way, Grace, along with Nigel, they come up with a way to drug Catherine, and she sees all these ghosts, all this past help, and she falls down the stairs, and now she's dead, except she's not. She comes back a little bit later. That was actually kind of a decent scene. This is where it just gets a little bit too busy and just almost start throwing darts at the wall to see what'll stick, what'll hit the mark. Nigel then finally snaps at Grace because she actually wants to see her mother. This is your home. No, it's not. He tries to get into a room. She has him trapped. And then he has her trapped, but then he gets into this room with Gloria in the pine box, in the glass box, like the glass covered box, and gets pushed over, and the box ends up on him, all pinned. He's coughing. He's all this. He's bleeding because the cancer's finally taken over or whatever he has. And then Catherine won't help him. She basically pins him down and says, I'll see you in hell, uncle. And then that's it. But then Catherine is alive somehow. Frees Joy and says, I can't help you anymore, but here's this card, and you absolutely should not should not call this number and talk to this person. They can't help you. And then we smash cut to, it's about a pro bono case. And what is this pro bono case? Well, Grace and Joy show up at this house. This British lady answers, and who are you? Oh, I'm Joy, and this is your husband's daughter. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it was good, and yeah, it all kind of made sense. I just felt it got a little bit too busy. It just threw a little bit too much. Where it's like, okay, could you not spread that out a little bit? But nevertheless, B, it gets a B. It's fine. It's a fine film. It's a fine first effort. He shows his talent as a filmmaker and some good acting. Even if I thought it fell apart in the third act. That's my opinion. Anyway, B, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.